By the time the veil tore, Nayla Okafor had already decided she was not going to reach up and fix it. 300 guests in the Bosphorus ballroom heard the sound before they understood it. That thin, expensive rip of hand-worked tool giving way, loud in a room that had gone silent for the vows. The veil came away in the older woman's fist. It hung there a moment, a torn white flag in a manicured hand heavy with rings, and Nayla stood at the altar with her hair exposed and her face bare, and did not flinch. The woman who had torn it was the groom's mother. Sevda Demir did not raise her voice. She did not need to. In a voice pitched exactly loud enough to travel to the back tables, to the cameras, to the family that had flown in from 3 continents, she said, "You will not stand in this family's name wearing that. You are not one of us. You never will be." What Sevda Demir did not know, what the lawyers in the 3rd row knew, what the man beside Nayla knew, what Nayla herself had known for 11 days and had chosen to say nothing about, was that every share, every deed, every account that made the Demir name mean anything at all had already, quietly, legally, been moved. It was no longer the family's to give or withhold. It was in one name now, not the groom's, hers. If you're new to Afro-Asia Diaries, subscribe and stay with us, because the veil was never the thing being torn in that room. Now go back, 11 days, to a glass office above the water, where a woman with nothing anyone could see was handed a pen and understood, before the man across the desk did, exactly what it was going to cost her. 11 days earlier, Nayla Okafor sat in a waiting room 40 floors above the Bosphorus and did the thing she always did in rooms built to make her feel small. She catalogued it. Italian marble, but the seam near the reception desk was a ½ millimeter off, which meant it had been laid fast, which meant someone had wanted the appearance of permanence more than permanence itself. The art on the wall was real and expensive and chosen by a consultant, not a person. The receptionist had looked at Nayla's shoes before her face. All of it was information. Nayla had learned a long time ago, in a different country, in a different life, that when a room is designed to tell you that you don't belong, the room is telling you something about the people who built it, not about you. She was 34. She was Nigerian, from Enugu by way of London, by way of a decade of restructuring companies that other people had run into the ground. Her title on the card, she had not yet handed anyone, was turnaround consultant, which was a polite phrase for the person a board calls when the polite phrases have stopped working. She had been called by the Demir Holding Board, not the family, the board, which was itself the first interesting fact. 11 days before a wedding she did not yet know she would be standing at. The second interesting fact was the man who came out to get her himself. Emre Demir did not send an assistant. He opened the frosted glass door with his own hand, and Nayla registered the small wrongness of it the way she registered the marble seam. Men who ran companies this size did not fetch their own consultants. It meant one of 2 things. Either he did not trust anyone in the building to walk her the length of a corridor, or he had wanted the 30 seconds of walking to look at her before anyone told him what to think. Both, she decided later. It was both. He was younger than she expected, or younger than the company's decline suggested. A company bled slowly is usually bled by someone old and tired. He was neither. Dark suit, no tie, a face that had been taught from birth to give nothing away, and had learned the lesson so well that the giving nothing away had become its own kind of tell. He shook her hand. His grip was exact. Not a power grip, not the crushing thing men did to her in these rooms. Exact, the grip of someone measuring. "You read the file," he said, not a question. "I read the parts you didn't want me to read," Nayla said, and sat down without being asked to, because the chair was there and her assessment of the situation did not require his permission. Something moved at the corner of his mouth and was gone. Which parts are those? The parts where the money leaving this company for the last 3 years hasn't been leaving, because the company is failing. She set her bag on the floor beside the chair, unhurried. It's leaving on schedule. It's leaving in amounts that are structured, not desperate. A dying company bleeds unevenly. Panic, then more panic. This one is bleeding like someone is doing it on purpose and doesn't want it to look like a purpose. She looked at him. "You didn't hire me to save Demir Holding, Mr. Demir. You hired me to find out who's killing it. The board thinks those are the same job. You know they're not." The office was very quiet. Below them, the Bosphorus did the thing it did. Split the city in two and pretended the two halves were one. They said you were direct, Emre said finally. They said you were charming, Nayla said. One of us was told the truth. And there it was again. That thing at the corner of his mouth, held down hard, refusing to become what it wanted to become. She had seen it on exactly one kind of man before, a man who had not been surprised by another human being in a very long time and did not have a filed procedure for what to do when it happened. She filed it herself, under later. What she did not file, because she could not have known it yet, was that Emre Demir had not walked the corridor to look at the consultant. He had walked it because the board's shortlist had come to him with 3 names, and he had crossed out 2 of them himself, and he had wanted to be the first person in the building to stand in front of the third and find out whether his instinct had been correct. It had been. That was the problem. That was, in the way these things go, the beginning of the cost. Though neither of them would have called it that, standing in the clean light of a Tuesday, 11 days out, with the water below them, and the whole ruinous machinery of the Demir family, not yet in the room, Nayla opened her bag. She took out a single sheet of paper and slid it across the desk. It was a list of 7 transactions, dates, amounts, and 1 column left deliberately blank. That column is the name of the person authorizing these, she said. I can fill it in by Friday, but I need you to understand something before I do. She held his gaze. Once I write a name in that column, you can't unknow it. And in my experience, Mr. Demir, the men who hire me to find the leak are almost never surprised by the answer. They already know. They hire me so that someone else will say it out loud, so the saying out loud isn't their fault. She leaned back. So before I take your money, do you actually not know? Or do you just need me to be the one who says it? Emre Demir looked at the blank column for a long time. Then he looked at her, and for the first time the thing at the corner of his mouth was not amusement. It was something closer to fear, held with the same discipline, and just as unsuccessfully hidden. Fill in the column, he said quietly, but not by Friday. He slid the sheet back toward her. By tonight. The name in the column was his mother's. Nayla did not deliver it as a revelation. She had learned that revelations were a luxury of people who did not have to live in the room afterward. She delivered it the way she delivered everything, as a structure. 7 transactions, 4 shell entities, 2 law firms, 1 in Nicosia, 1 in Geneva. And behind all of it, with a signature authority that predated Emre's own tenure by 15 years, a woman whose name was on the building, on the foundation, on the charity gala photographs in the lobby. Sevda Demir was not stealing from the company. That was the part Nayla made him sit with. She was moving it, steadily, legally, expensively, out of the corporate structure Emre controlled and into a family trust that Emre did not. She was not a thief. She was a mother rebuilding the walls of the house so that when the time came, the son could be locked out of it, and the name could pass to someone she chose, on terms she set. You're not being robbed, Nayla told him. They were not in the office. It was nearly midnight, and they were in a restaurant on the Asian side that Emre had chosen, and that Nayla had understood immediately was chosen, because no one who mattered to the Demir family would ever eat there. You're being disinherited in slow motion. She's just doing it with lawyers instead of a will. Emre turned his glass a quarter turn on the tablecloth. He had not touched the wine. Why? That's not my question to answer. I do money, not mothers. She watched him. But if I had to guess, and I'm going to, because you're going to sit there turning that glass until I do, I'd guess it's not about you. It's about who you won't stop being. She let that land. You keep the board loyal to you instead of to the family. You've said no to 3 marriages her office arranged. I found the correspondence. You run this company like it's a company and not a bloodline. She's not punishing you for failing, Mr. Demir. She's punishing you for succeeding on your own terms. Those are the sons that mothers like yours find most unforgivable. The ones who prove they didn't need the walls she built. Emre. For a moment, Emre Demir said nothing at all. The restaurant was nearly empty. A waiter, an older Turkish man in a worn black waistcoat, moved between distant tables with the unhurried economy of someone who had worked this room for 30 years and had stopped listening to what rich men said in it a long time ago. There's a wedding in 11 days, Emre said. Nayla waited. Mine. He said it flatly. The way a man reports a diagnosis he's already had time to hate. Arranged. The fourth one her office set up. I said no to 3. This one I said yes to, because saying no a 4th time was going to trigger something in the trust. A clause about demonstrated commitment to the family's continuity. His jaw moved. There's always a clause. My mother writes her love in clauses. So marry the woman, Nayla said. Keep your inheritance. It's a transaction. You of all people should be able to do a transaction. I can do the transaction. He looked up at her, and there was something raw in it now, unmanaged. The discipline finally cracking along a seam that had been laid fast a long time ago. I'm asking you a different question. I'm asking you whether there's a way to keep the company without becoming the thing she's turning me into. A breath. I've spent 11 years proving I don't need her walls, and the price of keeping what I built is agreeing, in front of 300 people, to live inside them forever. Nayla looked at this man, this careful, exact, cornered man, and understood that she was about to make a decision that had nothing to do with the fee on her contract. She understood it the way she understood the marble seam, as information about herself that she would have preferred not to have. There's a way, she said slowly. There's always a way, but you're going to hate it, and it's going to cost you more than the wedding would. She pulled a napkin toward her and uncapped her pen. The trust triggers on the marriage, on demonstrated commitment. Fine. But the trust doesn't specify the financial architecture of the marriage. Your mother assumed it would. She assumed a Demir son marrying a woman she chose would fold everything into the family trust automatically, because that's what's always happened. Nayla began to draw boxes, lines, arrows, the ugly, beautiful diagram of an escape. So we don't fight the trust. We satisfy it, and then before the ink is dry, you move every asset the trust would have swallowed into a separate holding structure. One she can't reach. One that isn't yours either, because if it's yours, she has standing to challenge it as a marital asset. Then whose? Nayla's pen stopped. She looked at the diagram she had drawn. She looked at the one box at the center that she had left, out of some instinct she did not examine, unlabeled. It has to be someone with no blood claim to the Demir name, she said, and her voice was very even, the way water is very even, right before the current underneath it turns. Someone your mother can't paint as an heir, can't challenge as family, can't reach through the trust. Someone completely outside the bloodline. She set the pen down. Someone you would have to trust with everything you own, and who would have to be willing to hold it, knowing that the moment she does, she becomes the most hated person in your family, and the story that follows her for the rest of her life will not be she saved him. It'll be she took it. The old waiter refilled a water glass 3 tables away and did not look over. Emre Demir looked at the unlabeled box in the center of the napkin, then he looked at Nayla. And Nayla Okafor, who had walked into rooms designed to make her small her entire life and had never once let one of them do it, felt the room turn, felt it the way you feel a lift begin to move before the numbers change, and understood that she had just drawn her own name into the most expensive box in Istanbul, and that she was, God help her, going to let it stay there. She said yes for reasons she made herself say out loud, alone, in the mirror of a hotel bathroom at 2 a.m, because Nayla Okafor did not let herself do large things for reasons she hadn't audited. Reason 1, the fee. Emre had quintupled it. That was real, and she was not too proud to name it. Reason 2, the work. She had spent her whole career dismantling other people's machines and handing the clean version back to the men who'd broken them, and this, for once, was a machine she got to build. There was a professional hunger in that she recognized and respected in herself. Reason 3, the one she said last and quietest, the one she almost didn't say at all, she believed him. Not the way women in stories believed men. She believed him the way she believed a balance sheet that reconciled, every number in its place, nothing hidden, the whole thing hanging together under scrutiny. She had spent 11 days looking for the lie in Emre Demir, because there was always a lie, and she had not found it. He was cornered, and he was proud, and he was, underneath the discipline, lonely in the specific way of people who have been loved conditionally their whole lives, and have concluded that conditional is the only kind there is. She knew that loneliness. She had audited it in herself too, and found the books did not reconcile there either. She did not say reason 4, because reason 4 did not have words yet. Reason 4 was the corner of his mouth, so the paper was drawn. Not a marriage of love. She was ruthless with herself about that, in the mirror. A marriage of structure. A wedding to satisfy a clause, and beneath the wedding, an architecture. At the moment of the marriage's legal completion, the entirety of the Demir holdings that the family trust would otherwise absorb would transfer, through a mechanism Nayla built, line by line over 8 sleepless days, into a holding company whose sole controlling shareholder was Nayla Okafor. Not Emre's wife in name, Nayla Okafor, in her own name, a Nigerian consultant with no blood claim to anything, holding the whole weight of a 100-year-old family in a company registered 11 days before the wedding. "You understand what this makes you," Emre said. They were in the glass office again, the papers between them, the pen, an ordinary pen, she noted, not a ceremonial one. He'd handed her the same kind he did his own work with, and she filed that too. "The moment you sign, you own everything, legally, completely. I'm handing you the ability to ruin me. There's nothing in this structure that makes you give it back." "No," Nayla agreed, "there isn't." "Then why would I do this?" "Because you looked for the mechanism that would protect you from me, and you couldn't find one, and instead of walking away, you're sitting here holding the pen." She looked at him steadily. "You're not doing this because the structure is safe, Emre. You're doing it because after 11 days, you'd rather trust a stranger with everything than spend one more decade being managed by the people who share your blood. That's not a financial decision. I built the financial decision. This part is yours." She picked up the pen. "And for the record, I'm not going to ruin you. Not because the paper stops me, because I don't want to. You should know the difference." "It's the only thing in this room that isn't written down," she signed. It took 4 seconds. Nayla had signed documents that moved more money than this, and none of them had felt like anything. This one felt like stepping off a ledge she had spent her whole life standing carefully back from. She signed her name, and the name meant, from that second, that she held it all, and that from that second, whatever happened, the story of Nayla Okafor was no longer going to be a story she got to write cleanly. Because now there was a wedding, and after the wedding there would be a family, and the family would learn, eventually, what she had done. And when they did, there would be no version of the truth in which she came out clean. She had known it at the desk 11 days ago. She had drawn the box knowing it. She took it. That was the sentence waiting for her at the end of this, no matter how it went. She had signed anyway. Emre looked at her signature on the page. He did not look relieved. He looked, if anything, more afraid than he had at any point in 11 days. The specific fear of a man who has finally handed his weight to someone and now has to live inside the fact that they could drop it. "Thank you," he said. Don't." Nayla capped the pen and set it down exactly parallel to the edge of the desk. "Don't thank me yet. Thank me after your mother tears the roof off, because she's going to. She's spent 3 years building walls to lock you out of your own name, and in 11 days you and I are going to stand in front of her and everyone she's ever wanted to impress. And I am going to be wearing white, and she is not going to know, until it is far, far too late, that the walls came down while she was choosing the flowers." She stood and picked up her bag. "That's the part I'd thank me for, not the signing, the 11 days she doesn't see coming." At the door she stopped, because there was one more thing, and she had decided she was going to be a person who said the hard thing out loud, rather than the person who let it sit in a blank column. "When she comes for me, and she will, publicly, because women like your mother do their cruelty in front of an audience so that no one can comfort you afterward without choosing sides, you're going to want to defend me." Nayla turned. "Don't. Not with words. Let her say what she needs to say. Let the room watch her say it." She held his gaze one last time. Because the only thing that beats a woman like that is letting her build the whole stage herself, and then showing her, very quietly, whose name is on the deed to the theater. She left. Emre Demir sat alone in the glass office with a signed page in front of him that had just given a woman he had known for 11 days the power to destroy his entire life, and found that the thing he felt was not fear anymore. It was, for the first time in longer than he could remember, something that felt dangerously like relief. The wedding was everything Sevda Demir had built it to be, which was to say it was a fortress dressed as a celebration. 300 guests. The Bosphorus behind glass. The name Demir spelled out in white orchids because Sevda had decided orchids photographed as old money and roses photographed as new. Nayla noted every choice and understood every choice, because every choice was a wall, and Nayla had spent her life reading the architecture of people who built walls. She wore white. She had chosen the dress herself, which had scandalized the wedding coordinator, a nervous Turkish woman in her 40s who had assumed the bride would defer to the family's designer and had discovered, over one very short conversation, that this bride deferred to no one. The veil was hand-worked tulle. Nayla had chosen it too, and she had chosen it knowing, because she planned things, because she always planned things, that it was the single most grabbable object she would be wearing. She had not made it easy to tear by accident, she had made it easy to tear on purpose. She wanted Sevda to have something to reach for. Because Nayla had understood, somewhere in the 8 sleepless nights, that Sevda Demir was not going to be beaten by a document. Documents were abstract. A woman like Sevda would sign her own defeat without feeling it, would learn months later from a lawyer's letter and would simply recalibrate, and the story would stay in her control. No, for it to land, for the walls to come down in a way Sevda would feel in her body, Sevda had to build the moment herself. She had to choose, in front of everyone, to be cruel. She had to reach up with her own hand, in front of 300 witnesses and every camera, and tear. So Nayla gave her a veil worth tearing, and stood at the altar, and waited to be attacked, because she had decided that the most powerful thing she could do in that room was to let the powerful woman think she still was. Emre stood beside her. He knew the shape of what was coming, not the choreography, because Nayla had not told him the choreography. She had only told him, "Don't defend me," but the shape. His discipline was perfect. His hands were steady. Only Nayla, who had spent 11 days learning to read the corner of his mouth, could see the thing underneath, and the thing underneath was terror, and the terror was not for himself. She filed that, one last time, under later. Sevda Demir came up the aisle to give her blessing. That was the tradition, the coordinator had explained. The groom's mother approaches, lifts the veil, kisses the bride, welcomes her into the name. It was a beautiful tradition, and Sevda had agreed to it publicly, and Nayla had known, watching her agree, that Sevda had no intention of blessing anyone. She was coming up the aisle to perform a welcome and deliver a rejection, and she thought, this was the thing, this was the whole beautiful ruinous thing. She thought she was the one who had planned the moment. She reached the altar. She was beautiful in the way that expensive maintenance is beautiful, and her eyes when they met Nayla's were warm for exactly as long as the nearest camera required, and then they were not warm at all. Her hand came up, and Sevda Demir, in front of 300 guests, in front of the family from 3 continents, in front of the board and the cameras, and the white orchids spelling out a name she believed she still controlled, chose. She did not lift the veil to kiss the woman beneath it. She gripped it, and she tore it away. The sound was thin and expensive, and it filled the silent room. The veil came off in Sevda's fist, a torn white flag, and Nayla stood exposed, hair bare, face bare, and did exactly the thing she had promised herself in the mirror at 2 a.m. She did not reach up. She did not flinch. She let the room see her not flinch. You will not stand in this family's name wearing that. Sevda's voice was perfectly pitched, perfectly carried, a lifetime of learning exactly how loud cruelty needed to be to reach the back tables. You are not one of us. You never will be. My son has made a mistake, and I will not dignify it by pretending. You're right. Nayla's voice was not loud. That was the thing the room would talk about for years, that the Nigerian bride did not raise her voice, did not weep, did not reach for her torn veil. She simply agreed, quietly, and the quiet cut through the ballroom more completely than any shout could have. I am not one of you, Nayla said. I never will be. You've understood that correctly, Mrs. Demir. I want to make sure the room understands it too. She turned, unhurried, so that she was not speaking to Sevda, but to the 300. I am not family. I have no blood claim to the Demir name. There is nothing about me that this family can inherit, or absorb, or pass down. She let it hang. Which is exactly why, 11 days ago, your son signed everything he owns, every share, every deed, every account that makes this name mean anything in the world, into my name. Because I'm the one person in this room you can't reach. You built the walls to lock him out. A beat. You never checked who was holding the door. The silence changed temperature. In the third row, 3 lawyers did not move, which was its own kind of confirmation, and the room read it. Sevda Demir stood at the altar with a torn veil in her fist and understood, slowly, in front of everyone, watching it arrive in her own face, that she had spent the morning choosing flowers while the house was quietly signed out from under her, and that she had just, with her own hand, in front of every person she had ever wanted to impress, torn the veil off the one woman in the world who now owned all of it. The veil dropped from her fingers, and Nayla Okafor, barefaced at the altar, did not smile. That was the last thing she'd promised herself. You don't win this by smiling. She simply bent, picked up the torn veil from the floor where the older woman had dropped it, folded it once with the same care she folded everything, and held it out. You should keep this, she said quietly. For Sevda alone now. The camera's too far to catch it. It's the only thing in this room that's still yours. They did not have a wedding night. They had a boardroom. By 11 the next morning, the family had assembled its lawyers, and Nayla sat at the head of a long table on the 40th floor with the Bosphorus behind her and 30 years of Demir money arranged in suits down both sides, and did what she had done her entire career. She dismantled the machine and handed back the clean version. Except this time, the clean version was hers, and she was not handing it back. She was fair. That was the part that undid them more than cruelty would have. She had built the structure carefully and legally, and she walked them through it line by line, and there was no crime in it, no theft, nothing to challenge, only a son who had signed his own assets away with full capacity and sound mind, and a consultant who had held them exactly as agreed. Sevda's lawyers found the seams, and Nayla had already sealed the seams. She had laid this marble herself, and she had not laid it fast. Emre said almost nothing in that room. He had signed everything away. He had no standing now, and he knew it, and Nayla watched him sit with the strange nakedness of a powerful man who has made himself powerless on purpose and is waiting to find out whether it was the best or worst decision of his life. He caught her eye once, across the table, in the middle of a lawyer's objection. The corner of his mouth moved. She looked away, because there was work to do, and because Reason 4 still did not have words, and this was not the room to find them. By the end of the week it was done. Sevda Demir's 3 years of quiet wall building were undone in 9 days by a woman she had tried to humiliate at an altar, and there was nothing, not one clause, not one court, not one favor called in across a lifetime of favors, that could reach the holding company where the name now lived. Nayla Okafor owned the Demir empire outright, and this is the part the story does not usually tell, because the story usually ends at the altar, with the veil on the floor, and the cruel woman defeated, and the bride triumphant. That is where the satisfying version ends. The true version kept going, because Nayla had won everything, and in winning it she had become, exactly as she'd predicted at the door of the glass office, the thing there were no clean words for. To the family, she was the one who took it. To the Turkish press, who got the story within a week, she was the foreign woman who had seduced an heir and stripped a dynasty. To the board, she was now the boss, and they were loyal to her the way men are loyal to power, which is to say completely and without warmth. She had wanted to be received on her own name. She had ended up owning everyone else's, and it turned out those were not the same thing. And it turned out she had known they were not the same thing at the desk 11 days ago, and had signed anyway. And Emre. Emre, who had handed her everything, was now a man with nothing in his own name, married to the woman who held it all, cut off from his blood by a choice they had made together. And the thing neither of them had built a structure for, the thing that had no clause and no line item and no box on any napkin, had happened anyway, in the 11 days and the 8 sleepless nights, and the corner of a mouth held down hard against a room. They had not planned to mean it, they meant it. That was the cost, not the money. The money had gone exactly where Nayla sent it. The cost was that they had built a machine to make loving each other unnecessary, a pure, clean transaction that needed no feeling to function, and the feeling had come anyway, uninvited, real, and now it lived in a marriage that the entire world believed was a heist. No one would ever see it as love. Sevda would go to her grave certain her son had been robbed. The press would never print they meant it. Even the board, even the lawyers, even the old waiter on the Asian side if he ever read the papers, everyone would know the story of Nayla and Emre, and the story everyone would know would be false, and there was no document she could sign to correct it, because the one thing she had learned in 11 days was that some things are true precisely because they are not written down. She had wanted to belong. She had won everything a person could win, and belonging was the one asset that had not transferred. On the 9th night, after the last lawyer had gone, Emre found her on the balcony of the office, above the water, the city split in two below them, and pretending to be one. "You could have taken it and left," he said. "The paper let you. You still could." "I know," Nayla said. "Why didn't you?" She looked at the Bosphorus for a long time, the current underneath it turning, the way it always turned, invisible from above. "Because I audited it," she said finally. "Reason 1, the fee. Reason 2, the work. Reason 3, I believed you." She turned to face him. "There was a reason 4. I couldn't say 11 days ago. I can say it now, but I want you to understand what it cost to say it. Because the moment I do, the story stops being she took it, and it becomes something worse. Something we'll never be able to prove to anyone. They'll always think you were robbed. I'll always be the woman who did it. We're the only two people on earth who'll ever know it was the other thing." She held his gaze, barefaced again, the way she'd been at the altar. "I'm the one holding everything you own, Emre, and I'm about to hand you the only thing I've got left that isn't written down anywhere. Same deal as the pen. Nothing makes you keep it safe." Emre Demir looked at the woman who owned his entire world. "Say it," he said. And Nayla Okafor, who had walked into every room of her life braced to be made small, and had never once let it happen, stood above the divided city and said the thing that no clause protected, and no court could enforce, and no one, ever, would believe, and understood, saying it, that this was the whole cost and the whole prize at once. That she had finally found the one place she belonged, and it was a place of exactly 2 people, and the entire rest of the world would spend the rest of her life calling it a crime. She said it anyway. She always said the hard thing out loud,